On October 29th, 1929, $14 billion vanished from the American stock market in a single day. By the time it was over, $30 billion were gone. Breadlines stretched around city blocks. Suicide rates spiked. Families lost decades of savings overnight. That is the story everyone knows. Here is the story nobody tells you. While ordinary Americans were losing everything, a small group of men were having the best year of their lives. Not by accident, by design. And the most disturbing part, several of these men were the exact people the public trusted to protect them. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will permanently change how you see every financial crisis that comes after this one. The year is 1929. The stock market has been rising for nearly a decade. Ordinary Americans, factory workers, teachers, small business owners are borrowing money to buy stocks. Brokers are allowing people to buy on 10% margin. That means for every $1 a person actually has, they can borrow 9 more and control $10 of stock, as long as prices keep rising. The system works perfectly. But the moment prices start falling, the entire structure collapses like a building with no foundation. Margin calls go out. Investors are forced to sell. Selling drives prices lower. More margin calls, more forced selling. A spiral with no floor.
Ow.
Most people never saw it coming, and they positioned themselves on the exact opposite side of the panic. But here's what nobody knew at the time. One of those men was sitting inside the largest bank in America, quietly betting against his own institution. His name was Albert Wiggin. He was the head of Chase National Bank, most powerful financial figure on Wall Street. Shareholders trusted him with their money. Depositors trusted him with their savings. The public trusted him to protect the bank. Albert Wiggin secretly shorted 42,000 shares of his own bank's stock. Shorting means you borrow shares, sell them at a high price, wait for the price to collapse, then buy them back cheap and keep the difference. The more the stock falls, the more money you make. Wiggin was not just betting his bank would collapse. He was the man steering it. He knew the balance sheet. He knew the exposure. He watched the leverage building across the entire financial system. And instead of sounding any alarm, he placed his bet and waited. When Chase National stock cratered during the crash, Wiggin collected approximately $4 million in profit. That is roughly $72 million in today's money. His own shareholders, his own depositors, his own bank. He bet against all of them, collected his winnings. And then, this is the part that truly defies belief. He was awarded a $100,000 per year pension when he retired. It took a Senate investigation to drag this into daylight, and when prosecutors grilled Wiggin in front of Congress, he admitted everything, calmly, because there was no existing law against it. None. A bank president could legally short his own bank's stock while managing its collapse. Wiggin eventually gave up his pension after public outrage, but he kept the $4 million. And this is where it gets shocking, because Wiggin is actually one of the smaller players in this story. The biggest winner of 1929 was a man named Jesse Livermore, and what he did was not just a bet, it was a military campaign. Livermore had been watching the market for years. He understood something almost nobody else grasped. The entire 1920s bull market was built on borrowed money. Real companies, real revenues, real growth, but the stock prices on top of that real economy were inflated by leverage, manipulation, and mass delusion. Livermore began accumulating short positions, starting in early 1929, quietly, methodically, through multiple accounts across different brokers so his name would not appear. He hired operatives to execute trades on his behalf. He understood something about human psychology that most traders never learn. As long as the public believed the market would keep rising, it would keep rising. Confidence was the only thing holding the structure together, so Livermore did not push, did not trigger anything. He simply waited, while the internal pressure built, until the wait became unsustainable. When the crack came in October 1929, Livermore was ready. He was positioned on the other side of every single panicked seller in America. By the time Black Tuesday was over, Jesse Livermore had made approximately $100 million. In a single year, that is $1.8 billion in today's money. His wife, unaware of the full scale of what her husband had done, asked him if they had lost everything when she heard the news. He told her they had not. He could not bring himself to tell her the truth, that the screaming headlines about national ruin meant their family had just become extraordinarily wealthy. But the winners of 1929 were not only short sellers. There was a quieter group. In terms of long-term wealth, they may have been the most powerful of all. They were the buyers. After the crash, assets did not disappear. It just changed hands. Factories were still standing. Farmland was still fertile. Buildings were still physically present. The difference was that the people who had owned them were now drowning in debt, facing margin calls, desperate for any amount of cash. This created one of the greatest fire sale transfers of real wealth in American history. Consider what happened to commercial real estate in New York between 1929 and 1933. Property values collapsed by 50% or more. For someone with liquid cash, this was not a catastrophe. It was an invitation. The Rockefeller family used the Depression years to begin construction on Rockefeller Center. The timing was deliberate. Land costs at their lowest in a generation. Construction workers desperate for any wage. Raw materials dirt cheap. By building during the Depression, they locked in costs that would have been impossible in the boom years. When prosperity returned, they held assets acquired at Depression-era prices. Joseph Kennedy did the same. He sold his stock holdings before the crash, converted to cash and hard assets, and emerged from the collapse wealthier than when it began. Franklin Roosevelt later appointed Kennedy as the first chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. His reasoning: takes a thief to catch a thief. Here is the thought that should stay with you long after this video ends. The 1929 crash did not destroy wealth. It redistributed it, from the leveraged to the liquid, from the trusting to the informed, from the people who believed the system was protecting them to the people who understood exactly how the system actually worked. The men who profited from 1929 were not operating outside the system. They were the system. And the laws that eventually stopped this kind of behavior, the Glass-Steagall Act, the Securities Act of 1933, the creation of the SEC, those laws only exist because the damage had already been done. The rules had not been written yet, because the people who would have written them were the same people benefiting from their absence. Every major financial crisis since 1929 has followed the same pattern. The names change, the mechanism does not. If this gave you a lens you did not have before, hit like. It helps more people find this video. Comment below. One word if you had cash during the 1929 crash. What would you have bought? Next video drops this week. You do not want to miss it.